All right. Well, thanks everyone for hopping on. My name is eCurrency Hodler or Andrew Yang, and I'm one of the, I guess, organizers for this call. Today we're joined by Adam Jonas from Chaincode Labs, and also by Art. Andreas, could you mute your mic, please? Thank you. And we're also joined by Art. And so today we're just going to ask them or interview them. They are one of the, I would say, biggest Bitcoin product contributors that I know in this space. And so I'm very, very excited to have them here. Oh, okay. Sorry. See you, Christoph. All right. So why don't we just start off with the round of intros? Art, why don't you introduce yourself first?
Hey folks, my voice will be a little bit off, but briefly, my name is Art, and what are we doing for intros?
A little bit
I
about
like
your
building
background.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like building things, whether it's formally through product management, whether it's through service design or other crafts and professions. I especially like to come together with people to create things, and this has looked different ways in the past. So working in a consultancy, working individually, working for both enterprise and smaller organizations to craft strategy, product vision, direction from the point of view of metrics, KPIs, evaluation. So really the gamut of what it means to go from idea to execution and evaluation from beginning to end. I think that's a fair summary. Is there anything I haven't covered yet?
How did you become a Bitcoin product contributor?
I became a Bitcoin product contributor through serendipity, good people, and curiosity. And specifically what this looked like is I stumbled upon the Bitcoin design community, the Bitcoin design space. And at that time, my skill sets primarily, not primarily, but like a focal skill set that I had was UX research and strategy research, product research. And through that foundation, I found Mogashni Naidu, Mo, who at that time was also serendipitously building the practice of UX research in the Bitcoin design space. And so we not just hit it off professionally, but also as people, like we really connected and, pardon me, connected and were like shared a vision for what this could look like and began to craft and work together on the Bitcoin UX Research Toolkit, which actually is a living product at present. It exists.
Right.
And so through that serendipity and connection, I then stumble upon this strange fella called Andrew, eCurrency Hodler. And we launched the Bitcoin product community together, which again was a space that I lived in. And I really saw the connected and saw the vision, the idea behind it, and I loved what you were doing, Andrew, and so I couldn't help but to hop on board and build in that space. And it was through that serendipity that I met Jonas, right? And Jonas and I also connected, and we shared a vision for what it could look like to build stuff. And Jonas was like, he'll tell the story, but I'm still around. So something's working, or something terrible is not happening. The opposite. So if I were to take a few steps back, again, it's I had the skill sets, right, already, a growing skill set. I'm not, world renowned by any means, but I had a foundation.
Yes.
I leaned into people, and I did my very best to add value to spaces and communities, and people who were doing cool things saw that, and we kicked off conversations, and that's how it grew.
Awesome. Oh man, I was just about to kick this to Jonas, but then I think he's having some issues.
I think he might be.
Oh, bummer. Hey, Jonas, are you with us?
Hello.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the internet's glitching, but
Oh, yeah.
I didn't get the last part. I heard he's still around, and I guess
That's
that was the transition.
Yeah,
that's the exact
I was gonna
summary. Yeah.
actually say, like, speaking of Jonas, we have Jonas on the call. Why don't you kind of
Cool.
introduce yourself?
So I work at Chaincode Labs in New York. We are predominantly a research and development shop focusing on Bitcoin. Most of the people in the office work on Bitcoin Core. We also have people working on the Lightning Protocol. We have researchers. I've been here for about 6 years. Before that, I worked in education, building teams and learning management systems and teaching people to code. And then before that, I actually come to code late in my professional journey. So this is sort of my second career.
Wow.
I wrote my first line of code at, I think, 29, something like that. And then before that, I used to work in professional baseball and scouting and player development. So lived in Latin America for a lot of that time.
Wow.
And that's how I spent most of my 20s. So sort of that's the back trace. I think so. I have some product experience. I have some team building experience, and some Bitcoin experience. And so that's sort of what I've been really for the last, let's say, 2.5 years or so, trying to build out more product for Bitcoin, and not in a Chaincode is not a for-profit venture.
Right.
So doing this for the greater community and hopefully having some impact.
Yeah, dude, I had no idea that you had a background in baseball. That's really cool. Yeah, okay, so actually for you, just double tapping on you, like, how did you get involved in contributing to Bitcoin in the first place?
So I was pretty into Bitcoin in I wasn't attracted to Bitcoin based on the price. I was attracted to Bitcoin based on the block size wars and just hearing from a friend as to sort of how fraught, something like that could be. Yeah. And so started learning more about it, and then as that resolved, obviously, the ecosystem changed a lot. There was this community break and things like that. And so I'd made the decision in late 2017, early 2018, that I wanted to work on this full time. And that's sort of like how I make career decisions. It's like I get excited about something and I just do it. So I was looking for sort of an angle and thinking about what would be the right fit for me, and based on the education background, sort of started to think about that, and really looked around, and it was just for the most part Jimmy Song doing his seminars. So I took one of those seminars. I actually had the company pay for it as professional development.
Nice.
And I don't know if you remember the tuition.
It was pretty steep,
but
yeah,
it was pretty steep both in fiat and in Bitcoin terms. And I assume that is, I assume all those Bitcoins haven't been spent. So, but I took that seminar and I took it, pretty seriously. And afterwards, I asked Jimmy if he wanted to put this online. I build this learning management system, and so I started working with him to build out his curriculum and put it online, actually through our platform. And then we got acquired, and it just sort of everything fell apart. But I still had this, inside look into, working with Jimmy and working on this on Bitcoin curriculum. So my next idea was to pitch a retreat, essentially a code retreat, to all of the stakeholders of Bitcoin tech. So it'd be like, Blockstream and Chaincode, and I don't know, there weren't that many more. I got in touch with a few other people. Like Lightning Labs was still, in its first year or two, and I chatted with them, and sort of the idea was you'd come to New York for 3 months, and you just focus on learning Bitcoin technology, and you'd have space to explore and experiment, and you'd either like go get a job at one of these places, or you'd go off and do like open source or something like that, and it'd be like this community space that everybody would chip into, this commons that everybody would chip into, and just like this, allow curious people to learn and sort of grow. And so I started putting that plan into action. I went and started pitching that. I had a little bit of promises for funding, and obviously one of those stops was Chaincode. And so I came for lunch and sort of told about my vision and tried to lay it out. And they were like, yeah, this sounds really cool, and we'd be happy to back it. And so a couple of days later, I got another email. It was like, you could also maybe just join here and do that from here. I was like, that also sounds pretty good. So yeah, I sort of tabled the center. It was called the GenCen, the Genesis Center.
Got it.
I tabled that.
Yeah.
And joined Chaincode instead. And so I've been here for 6 years now.
Well, I mean, I'd say you've made a pretty good choice working with Chaincode.
I don't know. It was a good idea. It would have been cool.
Yeah, one of the things that you do though is like you work with Bitcoin product contributors like Art, and there must be like a ton of projects in the Bitcoin space that you see need for and things that you're working on. And so what has it been like working with Bitcoin product contributors like Art, and what kind of role do you see them filling?
Well, having done product building for a while and having worked with a lot of different kind of product managers in the past, I know that something that is useful for me is keeping myself accountable and sort of taming the chaos of the ideas that I have. So, something I often hear Art repeat, although it's slowed down, I would say, in the last 6 months or so. But before that, it was like, I don't, like, this is just too much. Like, we're just doing like so many different things. And some part of that, the work of partnering with a product manager is to tame that chaos and to take like all of the things that we could be trying and make it actionable and make it understandable. I oftentimes assume people like understand what I'm trying to do, and I'm obviously trying to move fast, and I often don't take the time to like document it or write it down. It's like, let's hop on a call. I'll tell you in 30 seconds what we need to be doing, and you need to do that. And not everybody works that way. Some people work that way, and that works. And some people need documentation and to digest it in a different way, and to be having just more process. So I'm pretty process allergic. And so but I know that it's not everyone's style. Yeah. So there's some really good talented people that need order and communication. So that's, I think, in particular the way that Art and I have worked together. And we've shipped some stuff. I always think it could have been done faster, but I do think that we've shipped some really cool things. And I'm the latest is Saving Satoshi that went out pretty much this week. That's really been in the back of my mind for about 2.5 years. I called that shot at TabConf in October 22, and said, this thing needs to exist, and I wish someone would build this. and I never heard anything. And I was like, all right, we'll go build this. And it really took sort of, super team to pull that together.
Yeah.
But it was slow, and but yeah, I'm really happy with the product, and I'm really happy with hopefully. I think this is something this is something that I want to exist in the world.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, so on that note, like, what is Saving Satoshi? Can you give like a high level overview?
Sure. So Saving Satoshi is Ender's Game. The idea is to actually like play something that's engaging and something that has a narrative to it and something that you feel like is a game, but really be learning a lot along the journey. So much so that you're learning more than you think. And so when you look back at the end, the hope is that your understanding of how all these pieces fit together and what you could do next and all those sort of like you're oriented in a very different way. So this is actually something that I remember from going through Jimmy's course. It's like something methodical, something that lays things out, something that you can read start to finish is really useful. And we use Mastering Bitcoin and Programming Bitcoin for that often for sort of textbooks. But this is a different medium, and I think will attract a different audience, and I think we'll have different outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, and the chapters, they look like super practical. Like if you want to actually learn how to build like a wallet or a transaction, you can play the game and it'll like guide you through how to do it, which can be kind of difficult if you've never done anything like that before. And I think Saving Satoshi does it in like a really fun, cool, like visually graphic, dynamic way. And yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty fun.
Yeah. I mean, you were involved in the early days, and I think, setting out sort of the vision, I think you can speak to my style as well. It's like setting out sort of the vision. It's like it was really messy to start.
Yes.
And my style is like I can see through the noise to understand like what this could be down the road, and it's just sort of trying to find the pieces to put it in place. And I think we've got there, and I don't think it's a finished product. So we shipped chapter 10.
Right.
Chapter 10 is the end of like the narrative, and that was that narrative arc was really important, I think, to complete. But there's so much more that we can do, and I think just like Bitcoin is built in layers, I think this game can be built in layers, and that if you're really interested in really building out that wallet like you described, we can give you scaffolding and structure so that like, oh, I'm really interested in this part, I can go not just sort of horizontal in terms of the story narrative, but vertical in terms of the depth of how far I can go. So I'm really interested in, cryptography, and we have like a little taste of cryptography. Well, like this is what those breadcrumbs look like to actually like dive deeper and understand how it fits back to the Bitcoin narrative. So, yeah, I think we have the horizontal sort of scaffolding, and now the goal would be, if we can get some users, but the goal would be to continue to add vertical depth to the concepts and the ideas that we have there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, maybe it's a good time to bring in Art into this conversation. Adam sets like the vision. He's like the dreamer. Art, it sounds like one of your jobs was to kind of bring some organization. Like, what was that process like for you working with Jonas?
I do want to check, Jonas, you got to run in 8 minutes. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I want to kind of share my reflections and make sure that Jonas is able to provide his final feedback remarks, on what I say. Right.
Okay.
So, I fully resonate with Jonas's reflections here, where he very often sets a direction, sets a vision, sets a path forward, and says we're gonna build this thing. And what I find myself doing is everything after that. So across I think I counted 13 products that we've built in the last year and a half together, not counting V2s. We would usually start off with like, here's an idea that I have, here's kind of what it would look like. And my job would be to to informal words like extract the jobs to be done, the requirements, to understand from an organizational vision point of view, what are we trying to accomplish, regardless of if it matters to users or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I mean by that is like, I don't necessarily always care if something is delightful for a user, if my goal is to educate you about Bitcoin as you're moving through a product. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So there's organizational goals and visions that we have. In other
Right.
words, what problem are we looking to solve through this product? And then also, what problems and what jobs does the product need to solve for users, right? And prioritizing and ranking those as we build incrementally. Once we've aligned more, and like I'm formalizing what is often like a very like liquid and iterative process, right? But like formally, that's kind of a step. We then prioritize and triage which of those are most important to tackle in our first few releases. And then we move and begin to pull in our designer. And then we work very closely with design to make sure that through a design iterative testing process, we're knocking out some of those goals that we have for the product. And this usually looks like, we work with the designer, we work closely with devs for feedback, etc. And then Jonas is closely part of that process to say like, yes, no, that's sort of the vision that I had that doesn't resonate. And I just want to say that Jonas has a like compelling intuition for product, where I know if I put something in front of him and if his intuition says it's a go, like that is a compelling, usually reflection of where we're heading. And if it's a no, that's signal for me that right. Like we got to shift a little bit.
Right.
Sometimes we'll have a back and forth, right? Obviously, and I can bring forward like, yeah, we've put this in front of people, like members of the community have advocated, blah, blah, blah. However, Jonas is really that kind of like he steers through the fog, right?
Got it. Yeah.
And then as we move through that design development process, we bring devs along to, especially recently, churn things out incrementally. So instead of like, let's launch the whole thing,
right.
And the big bang release waterfall. It's like, can we like de-scope? Can we remove functionality and just like launch the minimum viable experience, so to speak, that we're looking to create through a product. I want to toss it back to Jonas to see, does that reflect what you've seen? Is there anything that's missing?
Yeah, it seems fine.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say 13 products. That's no joke, man. That's a lot of shipping, and something must be going right between you two to be shipping those kind of products out.
Well, importantly, it's, I am the least important contributor in the space because we have designers that are executing the right. Visual interaction. So design is a solution to a problem, right? Mm-hmm. So our designers are across the many that we've worked with are helping do that. Our developers are building the thing. You know what I mean? So everything I do is in the service of Jonas's vision, and our builders, our designers, and our developers.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Jonas, I know you got to hop off in a couple of minutes. I just want to thank you so much for just spending time with us, sharing your history and like your perspective on contributing to Bitcoin. It's been really helpful for us, I think. Yeah.
Cool. Enjoy.
All right. See ya.
Thanks, Jonas.
So, Art, now that Jonas is out, we can burn down Bitcoin, right? No, I'm just joking.
Of course. Now we can gossip, spill the tea.
Yeah, actually, okay. So one of the questions I had for you is that, like, I think one thing you're really good at, Art, is like hosting meetings in a way that's not just business. I think you do a really good job, like connecting with people, and but I guess my question for you is, how do you manage like connecting with people on an internet context with people all over the world, but still get stuff done, because that's something that sometimes I struggle with, Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for that reflection. I think we're very lucky that we have Andreas on the call, because he and I have been working very, very closely for the last year, I'd say, together. And so after I finish, I would love to have Andreas chime in with his reflections, and Ben as well. Like Ben and I have been not nearly as closely as Andreas and I, but we've been working closely together.
Cool.
And I think it comes back to this insight that unoriginal insight. In other words, this is not my thought. That all technology is a solution to a human problem. If there weren't humans to experience problems that are solved by technology, we would not be here. And so zooming out, what this means is that I am in service of people. I am in service of ideas. I'm in service of humans. And there's also something I think particularly humbling about, I'm not particularly proud of this. Like it's something that I'm working on getting better at, but like, I don't know how to use Figma to create an end-to-end prototype.
Right.
I don't know how to write independently how to write code. And so there's something humbling about being a person who is at the mercy of builders, right. Where I have to add something, whatever that thing is, right? And very often it tends to be like shepherding ideas and making ideas palatable, consumable, stackable, organizing them in a way that makes sense to the people who have a dog in a fight, like a stake in the vision. And this is very much the case. Like if we just zoom out professionally with service designers are very often working as kind of like shepherds of ideas through media like journey maps, service blueprints, etc. Right. So, and doubling down on the question that you asked, what this means is being relatable, is caring about people, is cracking jokes, is I think sometimes also being self-deprecating, just to like remove as much ego as possible from the work, because ultimately I don't really matter. What matters are the ideas, right. and what matters is us getting to the vision and adding value to the humans that we're serving, right? And the humans that we're serving, like one of the things that I do we have a monthly kind of like team review. It's not like a sprint review. It's more like, let's just say a retro in traditional Scrum. Right. But so I'll bring us back to like, what's our vision? Why are we here? What are our focus areas? And just like always, like, are we aligned, on where we're headed? So that's a long-winded way of saying I'm in service of people, not technology. Yeah. Technology is the reason why people are coming together to do this stuff. I'm wondering, Andreas and Ben, like you've worked with me a little bit. And this is totally like you don't have to, but like feel free to come on camera and share some of your reflections on that.
Yeah, and if you can kind of briefly introduce yourself and maybe the kind of role that you played on the team too, that would be helpful. Andreas, if you're open to it, why don't you go first?
Okay. Hello.
There he is. Oh, I think you're muted. I don't think we hear you.
How about now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah. Hello. Thanks. Thanks for the heads up, Art, and it didn't ask for me to come on the spot. I'm Andreas. I'm working at the Bitcoin Dev project. I mostly write code and think about what we can build and what we can do.
Wow.
What Art said, like I felt those things in the while working, because working with Art, what I like to say to people, and like that's true, like Art helped me think better about products. And I still have difficulty explaining how, but like right now, I see like from my interactions with other people that I can structure better ideas, break things down, ask better questions, and that's like that's like fully came from me working with art, because we worked a lot with the Bitcoin transcripts project and on the redesign right now, and we had to do a lot of thinking and talk about the product, especially that's one part, and also the other part of being reliable, what was the word, relatable, and all those, like those interactions, how you introduced art at the beginning. And I was wondering if I would be able, if I can ask also a question.
Yeah.
I would like to ask art from where that comes from. Like, that's like a very valuable skill on be able to. Well, I'm not sure how to describe it. And I think, art, do you have, if I'm not mistaken, do you have a background on psychology, right?
Well, I'm a psychotherapist by training, right? So that's sort of my first world is change work. Yeah.
So is that connected with this, your background?
We are, story making beings, and so I of course can make a story that connects these two worlds together. Practically speaking, where did I train to be this way? How did I train to perform this way in society? I sang in a Russian folk choir in my teens. And there are still pictures around in my folk getup. And so that, forced me to be on stage and kind of like witness failure, which, I have. Training in improv helped me as well, or exposure to improv, public speaking, Toastmasters. And so, it takes a certain person to, past the teenage years, to expose themselves to these kinds of experiences and go through the reps of trying to interact with people. You know, so I think it's both a combination of, like an innate artness, I guess you could say, that is like quintessential art, with several ongoing life experiences, some of which were serendipitous, some of which I sought and continue to seek, that shaped, and also, yeah, of course, training in neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis, in various forms and modalities of psychotherapy, I think all play a role in me. Understanding how to navigate groups, and be in a group setting in a way that isn't it doesn't feel yucky, that sometimes does feel yucky for other people. And maybe some people find me yucky and how I do things yucky, and that's okay too. But yeah, and no worries, Ben. Thank you for the heads up.
Yeah, but also though, like, meetings are like a scarce commodity, like in a team, especially in FOSS teams and like international teams. How do you balance like connecting with people personally versus like doing the work, right? Like, do you ever find that when you connect with them personally, making jokes or just seeing how they're doing, that it ever like cuts into like the work time that you guys are doing as well?
Of course it does. But and well, it also depends on the person. Some people have no interest in creating, any form of rapport outside of like, this is what I'm working on. In which case, that's the relationship that you have with that person, and that's okay, because your job is not to change people; it's to create conditions in which they could thrive. And like in a FOSS context, like everyone's on board for the same. I find that, so one thing that I do find is very helpful to cut through bullshit is to align on why we're here. And this is not just FOSS in general, but like zooming out and working with humans, it matters that the people in a room have a shared sense of why we're here, and sometimes that's explicitly laid out, Sometimes you have to go through the work of co-constructing and shaping what that thing is and reminding people of it. And so if anything ever happens, it's like, well, cool, as a flag, like as a just a gentle nudge, like what we're looking to do together is this, and so I wonder what I can do to best support you in that, because it's not about me. It's like, what can I do for this person?
Got it. Yeah. Well, yeah. Why don't we?
I might be.
Oh, go ahead.
I might be being a little too generous with my descriptions about myself, though. Like, does that make sense? Like, I might be on my best behavior right now, and people's experiences of me are probably different.
You're clearly, obviously, very chaotic, Art. So.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Why don't we pivot a little bit? Are there any projects that you're working on now?
Yes, there are. So, I'd like to show you two that I'm working on now.
Let's go. Let's do it. I'm excited.
I'm gonna share my screen. So Bitcoin transcripts. Oh man, maybe in the meantime, Andreas, do we have a screenshot of the old transcripts? That'd be so cool. But this is a new version of Bitcoin transcripts. The problem that Bitcoin transcripts solves here specifically is it's a repository of a tremendous amount of data. And what we are seeking to do with the product, both through the design and the product goals, is to make it as easy as possible to explore and discover the types of content in the Bitcoin tech space, and make it stupid simple to find and retrieve information related to topics that matter to the user. So we've been building this incrementally. In other words, the first thing that so this is a V2. The first thing that we launched here was the landing page. And so the landing page would bring you to, like, if you ever click on any of these things, what it would do is it would bring you to that. Let's see if we're glitching out. Nice. I mean, this is the demo demons. All good.
Yeah, the demo gods are not in your favor.
they're just always there. The bugs. It would bring you to the old sites, right, with that content. And so again, the idea of building incrementally is we launched the first sort of iterative drip of value of this V2, which was the landing page, and then so we did that, and then we started to build the presentation or the design of the content. One second, I'm going to show you what the old version of the product looked like.
Okay.
Thank you, Andreas. 1 second, let's just let it load. Okay, this is the old version. And so again, like, remembering the purpose of this product is a repository. Basically, It's basically a library.
Yeah.
Right.
So you have like basic functions, like you can search, you can click, you can probably read transcripts. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, if you look into the information architecture, the information architecture is like, it gets you to where you need to go.
Right.
And it is navigable. However, it doesn't do a great job organizing the ideas in consumable, snackable, scannable ways. And what I mean by that is, we've solved for a information architecture problem through design in a way that's not just useful or usable, but is also compelling. In other words, you now have visually interesting ways of navigating the depths of Bitcoin tech through transcripts. And what no one except for nerds that care about IA or taxonomy or design or product will think about is, it was and is an extremely cognitively difficult exercise to ask ourselves and to get to a place of, how do we actually structure these things? Which navigation style do we use? How do we condense ideas? What is a type? How do we group sources? What do we do with sources that have different years within them?
Are you
How do
clicking?
how do you?
Are you clicking through like the new
Oh,
one?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay. There you go.
totally.
Yeah. All right.
Sorry.
You're
But yeah,
okay.
so like a lot. How do we structure and organize ideas, right? That's basically what this project was. How do we structure and organize ideas? So that's Bitcoin transcripts. Let's see if okay, this is actually it. Perfect. So you see how when you click channel factories, it brings you back to the old version. And this is an example of building iteratively as opposed to doing a full release where everything is done at the same time.
Right.
So another product that I'm working on right now actively is a V2 for TLDR.
Okay.
So TLDR solves the problem. So in the world of Bitcoin tech, there are several very high signal places where people discuss the evolution of Bitcoin tech ideas. They challenge one another. This tends to be the Bitcoin Dev mailing list and the Delving Bitcoin mailing list, and there used to be a Lightning Dev mailing list.
Right.
And so, as you could tell, this is a fairly bare bones product. From a user point of view, it doesn't convey very much about what it does or what it's supposed to do. It's hard to grok what it is. It's not particularly navigable. However, it was our first cut, and it's something people love. And so where we're at now is working on a V2. And what that means is, again, taking a step back and looking into, like, I don't know if it makes sense to share the strategy document, but yeah, like coming up with a strategy document, ensuring that we're hearing from people with a stake in the game, like, what is this product meant to do? Like, what do you hope for it to achieve? What do we want it to do organizationally? What do we want it to do from a user point of view? Who are the users? And then moving into what a V2 might look like. So, this is after a healthy amount of trials and tribulations, but
Ooh.
a V2 might look like this.
Yeah.
One sec. Is this what it might look like? No. I have a better one for you.
Okay. I mean, this is pretty good too.
It's all right. Let's see now. Okay, so this is what it might look like.
Oh, cool.
And so here we've deprioritized the daily summary. We have reprioritized the weekly newsletter. So this should be bigger, but whatever. And we're flirting with this idea of having literally this week's weekly newsletter as show don't tell. Like, it's proof. It's a show don't tell model where it's like, you want the newsletter? Here's the newsletter. This is what you're gonna get. Do you like this? Good, sign up, right? That's the model that we're gonna play with. But we've just made it easier to navigate. We've made it more clear what this product is. We've made it less effortful to know what you're looking into in terms of the different resources, and we added some social proof, etc.
Yeah, I think one of the things
okay.
I'm taking away from this conversation is just taking an iterative approach. Like the V1 that you put out, it kind of boils it down to like the core basic function, right? And then you're, even from a commercialized perspective, it's good to do that because it lets you see, are you on the right track or on the wrong track? Like, are people actually interested in this one core feature? And then if they are, then you have like users that you can draw from, get feedback from, and then build like the next additive feature on top of that, or a brand new feature based off of the one that you just put out, like the V1.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, Art, in the sense that like when we try to push out a featureful thing, like completely feature complete, there's people don't realize, but there's a lot of assumptions that you're making. A lot of assumptions about like, what do people find necessary? Where are people going to click on? Like, how are they going to interact with your product? But, there's no way to really verify that ahead of time. And so by taking an iterative approach, like number one, you're getting market validation faster. Number two, you're getting user feedback faster. And number three, you're not wasting time or money or dev work on building something that people may not even use.
Well, there's another risk to what is a traditional waterfall approach, and it's that you learn things downstream that you couldn't have known earlier on that impact the direction of the products, right? And so by collapsing the learning loops, you're making sure that you're not over investing in a certain direction, topic, or idea that is hard to come back from, right? So you're basically like chunking risk by doing things this way. And then in the formal world of our profession, it's also called dual track agile, where design and product works a little further ahead from development. Development is still informed in providing feedback and shaping the vision of things, right? But design and product works ahead at the idea level at testing things, creating those iterative units of value for dev to build, and that process continues onwards, right? As opposed to dev waits for that big release and then starts building this whole thing, and then like it risks taking forever. Although, to be honest, it still sometimes takes a very long time to get through even this.
Yeah. I guess one other question is that, like, from an architecture perspective, like a technical architecture perspective, it can maybe be difficult to choose core, tech architecture if you're taking an iterative approach and you don't know which way you're really going, right? Because if you go down one path, you might choose one system, but if you realize, oh no, we need to go down another path, then you might have to rip everything out and install a new system in the back end, So how do you navigate decisions like that?
Well, I don't need to, because I usually work with partners whose competence I lean on.
Yeah.
So for example, like Andreas is in the room right now. Anything related to technology, when we're working on this product, I lean into him, and he might ask me certain things, but I don't need to make those are not my decisions to make.
Yeah.
That's not my area of expertise.
Got it. Okay. No, I love that.
In both this space and every other space I inhabit. Like, I work with digital architects, and I lean into them because they think about this professionally.
Yeah, and you're a team. You're not by yourself. You're not on an island. You're a team,
right?
And you got to use the people on your team. Okay, why don't we pivot to maybe the last couple questions that I have for you, Art.
Okay.
You've been a Bitcoin product contributor for over a year, maybe even two. Is that right?
Almost. A year and a half now.
Year and a half, yeah, over a year. So first of all, congratulations. You are a stalwart.
Still alive.
Still alive. What advice do you have for people who want to become Bitcoin product contributors?
Well, find your. Well, first of all, it's asking which niche or area you want to play in, right? So to be a contributor from the point of view of development or design, or on the idea level rather, marketing, products, project management, it's finding what is your core skill set, and if you don't have one, that's okay. There's plenty of transferable skills. It's just it matters to have a base competency that you can demonstrate to people, and the way to get there is take those free Google project management certificates. Upskill and I'm not necessarily talking about stacking certs, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you do learn things by doing those things, right? So let's assume that now we're talking about people who have a professional foundation that they're leaning into, and on that journey, you might find someone that's I'm looking for help. I know you're learning and you want to get better at this while you're taking these courses and or building your, as Susan said, proof of work. there are still opportunities for that. But let's assume that you come with a skill set, right? Cool. All technology is a solution to human problems. Bitcoin is a solution to human problems. That's really all it is. And so it's about building relationships and exploring who is out there in the space and being humble with your approaches to conversations. And when it comes to finding the people, there are certain communities that already exist. So the Bitcoin product community, selfishly, I obviously want to flag that Andrew and I are like co-shaping with people and trying to create opportunities for people and have successfully created opportunities in. The Bitcoin product community is one. The Bitcoin design community is definitely another. It's how I got my footing in the space. The Bitcoin Dev project is another one where more technical contributors could find their footing. And so it's finding those communities and exploring wedges of value that you can add to them, whether it's a reflection, whether it's in the form of Bitcoin tech, it could be a PR review or a comment or a suggestion or an idea or an article or something, and having those incremental drips of value. It's like, are you looking for any kind of support and looking to, again, infuse value into your relationships as opposed to extracting value. Like, can you help me find an opportunity? Well, it's like maybe, but like, why would I want to if I don't know you and you haven't demonstrated proof of value to community, let's just say.
Right.
I'm not saying that, again, I'm also not saying that I'm like the model of a valuable human. I'm just offering like reflections that might help someone.
Yeah, it makes sense, especially because if you're a random person that joins our Discord and you're like, hey, I want to help, and like, that's awesome, and we love that. But it also, if you've contributed in some way, it's easier for me to like kind of go to bat for you because I worked with you. I know what you're capable of. Because there are so many people that just kind of show up and maybe like just don't follow through in the end. And so, yeah, at least if you're engaged and you're continually engaged, it's like, yeah, we know that this guy's going to stick around, which is actually, I would say, one of the biggest things. Just stick around, stay involved instead of like losing interest. Yeah.
Stick around, stay involved, add value.
Yeah.
Take things off of people.
Yeah.
If that's something they're interested in.
Yeah.
And
I do.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah, there was one other thing I wanted to share, which is Susan mentioned proof of work, and it does matter to be able to package and articulate your contributions to the space, at least like in the point of like finding places to contribute to. It does matter that you can package what you're able to do and what you have done for people to see. Whether we like it or not, we are in the midst of humans try to make decisions in a complex environment with a tremendous amount of information. And so if you're able to package your ideas well and package your proof of work, you help people make good decisions about you. So it matters to be able to articulate what have you done in the past, what value have you added, and who do you know?
Right.
It's a very political way of saying marketing matters.
Marketing yourself. Yeah, okay, maybe one of my final questions for you is, you've been contributing for a year and a half. What are maybe the top 3 lessons that you've learned that maybe you didn't know when you first started?
Okay, one is that there are opportunities. I didn't know that. There are opportunities in the space of Bitcoin broadly and in the space of Bitcoin tech specifically. There are people who are very interested in creating opportunities for eager, curious, competent contributors, none of which describes me. And So that's insight in lesson 1. Insight in lesson 2 is that Bitcoin tech is tremendously difficult. Like it is a fire hydrant which you will never be able to tame, quench, because there's just any rabbit hole you go down, there's no end to it, right? And so there's like an element of like eating humble pie, where as a natively non-technical person, I'm technical when it comes to social technologies. I'm not native when it comes to digital technologies.
Right.
It's an ongoing piece of humble pie to build rapport and relationship and understanding with technical people, right? And it's really freaking hard. This stuff is really hard, and the people that work on it are freaking geniuses. Like, they're brilliant, and so I am around people continuously who are like much brighter than me. I know that, and so that's another thing that I've picked up. And then the third thing is that an insight of being in this space for a year and a half is that I don't think it's an insight, but like the people who are in it are like, they're really in it. Like, they love this world. They love the vision of Bitcoin as a solution to many human problems, right? They want to support one very often, not always, and there's pockets and whatever in every community, but they want to support one another, and they're curious about investing in the kinds of people who show up in good faith and want to make a difference.
Yes.
I mean, one thing that Andrew would probably want to throw in is this, like, this joke in the Bitcoin space of, you found Bitcoin, you enter Bitcoin, and you want to fix it. Like,
yeah,
I'm here to fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're not here to do that.
Yeah.
We're just here to make like incremental improvements in usability, feasibility, and products, applications, idea generation, idea sharing, etc. Right? Just humble contributors. Yeah, those are the 3 that come to mind.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we're kind of at time. Do you want to? Do you have any final thoughts, Art? You want to share?
Reach out.
Huh?
Reach out to me or Andrew if you guys are curious about being product contributors and what that means, and that's about it.
Awesome. Well, Art, thank you so much for your time. Thank Jonas for us as well. We loved having him on, and everyone on the call, appreciate you guys coming out. And yeah, join us. We have another learning club coming up soon, right, Art? Yeah.
It is 2025. We're going to have another one.
In 2025, we're going to have another one. I also have another speaker lined up, Jack Rinaldi from BLS, and he's going to be, we're going to be interviewing him in January. And then, yeah, why don't we also try to do like a community thing where we decide as a community what types of meetings we want to have as well in 2025 as well.
Good call.
Cool.
Good call. Thank you, Jeremiah. Jeremiah, feel free to ping and write to me. I'd love to get to know you too.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll talk to you later. Have a good Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year. And Merry Christmas. Bye, everyone.
Bye.